We would like to introduce you to a unique school in Williston, Vermont, a school dedicated to lifelong learning. At Williston Central School, teachers, parents, and students work collaboratively. Teachers work as facilitators, using a variety of strategies and technology to assist all students to individually plan and take responsibility for their own learning.
Hi, I'm Gwen McDay, a 6th grader at Williston Central School. It's a pretty cool place to learn, and today you're going to see the way we learn here. Our school's been given many different names: prototype, futuristic, experimental, empowered, reformed, unified, to name a few, and I'm sure you'll have your own label. Let's go inside. The doors open at 7 o'clock, and classes begin at 8:30. Some students arrive early and work on their projects. You see, at Williston, we, the students, use our time to plan and continue projects, kind of like adults do at their job. Only when we do the problem solving and the planning, everyone seems to work a lot harder. Because everyone can learn, and everyone has an opinion that is worth hearing. So let's go inside. It's getting late. Come on, here, I'll get the door for you. Ready to go on? Hey, look, there's Mrs. T. Williston serves grades K through 8 for 175 days a year. The school is divided into 9 multi-aged and unique houses made up of 90 to 100 students. They are Calliope, Discovery, Esprit, Full, Light, Nova, Quest, Summit, and Swift House. Within each house, the students are divided into 4 core groups, led by 1 facilitator. Today you're going to visit 2 houses: Summit House, which includes grades 1 to 4, and my house, Swift House, which includes grades 5 to 8. Now that you're kind of up to speed, we're going to stop telling and start showing, because that's the best way to tell our story. In the course of your tour, facilitators, students, parents, and administrators will be speaking to you about our school. Now you too can begin to empower student learning. Enjoy your visit. Oops, I gotta go. I'm late for class.
Hi, my name's Elena, and I'm a 4th grader in Summit House. Have a look around. There's a project room and a board with poems and Thursday folders on it, numbers and books, the coat rack, quality indicators above the whiteboard, people working, some computers, and a reading area. There's Miss Halstead and a parent who's probably in Summit House today. Now there's Miss Nardiello's room, and a lot of kids are working a log and a pond life board, which go with our topic that we're doing right now about ponds and a terrarium. These are quality indicators over here. I'll read one to you. A lot of yourself in work, and you thought it through. Good thinking, very interesting, and good ideas. This is my teacher. She's writing our daily plan. This is a board which shows what we have to have in our reports. Right now we're working on ponds. Over here are some of our computers. One of the programs is Microsoft Works, and that's where I will write my final draft on my ponds. These are quality indicators over here. This is a board which has their daily plan. Over here you see a log. The kids are having lots of fun on it, looking at the bugs and stuff that are in it. I'm going over to the other side of Summit House because our house is split up into 2 pieces. Now we're on the other side of Summit House, which includes Miss Things and Miss Wilson's room. This is the phone. The kids sometimes use it to set up interviews, and the teacher uses it to talk to the kids' parents. Over here is ING words, which include jogging, swimming, and writing. The kids probably brainstormed them. This is a nature quilt. The kids drew the pictures. These are tadpoles over here for pond life that they're studying. I would touch, but it says do not touch. This is Sarah. She's on Jostens. It's a program for reading and math. This is Miss Thing. She's working on the computer with Rachel. These are KidPic and Microsoft Works combined. They're stories which you can put pictures in. Here's another board that tells you what you have to put in your reports. Over here are folders. They have brainstorm sheets, book report forms, and Thursday folder sheets in them. This is another computer room. It has more computers in it. We don't have lockers, but we do have cubbies. Someone's reading room 13. Scary. Well, if you have any questions, I'm Elena again. And all us kids will probably know the answers to your questions. Hope you have a good time in Summit House.
Okay, everybody, morning circle. Good morning, everybody. Elena's circle leader this morning, so let's get going.
Anybody have any announcements? Aaron?
Yesterday, Bridget came to my house, and we went down by the pond and got some water. Well, it's a brook. We got some water samples.
Where'd you get them from?
We got them from the brook behind my house, and one of them has some algae in it, and then this one has dirt, and it's clear.
Any other announcements?
Is that it? Okay, thank you. How many of you right now know exactly what you need to do to start this morning? If you are very clear on what you need to do, you can leave the circle very quietly and go get to work. If you are unclear, please stay right here. We start each day with a morning circle, and that really organizes them. When we're working on a research project, they're asked to monitor themselves along the way. So several times during a project, they've let me know exactly where they are, what they've completed, and what they need to do. But that just, again, lets me know that when they leave for that 2-hour block, that they are focused, they know what they need to do. They've determined their focus question. They've already established their prior knowledge. So after we get a focus question, they make me a pre-concept map, so I know exactly what they know about the subject. Then they go off, find their resources, and then you will see kids in various stages of the research. These folks right now have gathered their resources and are making notes. Other kids are doing introductions on the computer. Some people are doing field work. We really like long blocks of time because this kind of teaching takes a lot of time. So they're all busy. So my job is to go around, and I'm the one that gives them resources if they need it. I give them leading questions if they need it. I help them organize their thoughts, whatever they need. I'm the coach right now, and I'm busy.
Well, a typical day is usually, we mostly just do our reports and book reports and all that stuff in the morning, and then usually in the afternoon after quiet reading, because we have lunch and then quiet reading, we usually do math. The last few hours I've been working on my frog report, and Ms. Halstead just pulled me over for a little while to work on a bibliography, because That's what we're going to really need to put in our report. We're going to have to do it like really perfect, with all the punctuation and stuff. A bibliography is for, so you can give credit to the people that wrote the books that you used or all the resources.
That's a good question. I might widen my notes. And the other thing I might do is
Ms.
I might
Halstead
brainstorm
decides
exactly what you
on
want to put in.
mostly a
So
big
I might really
focus
map out
thing,
what you wanna
and we just like pick a little part of that to learn about. Like we're doing pond life and outdoors, and I picked frogs, and other people are picking other animals, and
So you need my
a lot of people are doing wildflowers and stuff.
I'll get to you.
I picked the topic of frogs because I like frogs. I think they're really neat. And what is expected of me, let's say. Well, we usually just like to get some notes, and we just usually do it by ourselves, and we have some help from friends if they find books and stuff. And then we just turn it into a report, and then we have a presentation time, and so some people are going to be doing charts, paper mache, like I did a paper mache beaver, and these are the babies. And so that's usually what's expected of us.
One thing I think parents are concerned about is how can you individualize when you've got this many kids in your class? Well, I can say that probably many places couldn't do that. But because the kids have the basis that they have taught the kids, you're capable, you can manage your time. We're always here to help you out, but these things are all possible. Time management is something that she has a better grasp of than I do, I think.
I know I learned something when I talk about it with a friend, and I can really tell them about it. And like I know, like when I did the digestive system, I knew all the different parts, and I still do, and I don't think I ever forget them.
Elena has changed immensely over the past few years. In just, I would say, every aspect of her life. She initially was the kind of child who would be mortified to say hello to a new person. She would hide behind me when she was a very shy child. She's gotten the message over and over and over and over again. Anything, we believe, anything is possible. You can do anything. And that has made her really experiment with many, many things. The school is responsible, that Karen is responsible for that, and her peers. She has somehow learned to be a wonderful negotiator and a leader. I honestly have to say I don't know how that occurs, but I think it's just confidence within yourself, that you're an important person and whatever you're going to say matters.
Each of us has like 3 portfolios, yeah, and so one's for math, and another one is for like stories and writing that we do, and the last one is for like book reports and stuff. Every time I do a report and I know that it's like it might come in handy someday, and just that I know that, it makes me feel good. Like some people right now, I'm working on my research, and other people are finishing a book or writing a story, so not everybody is working on their research. I like it because everybody's not doing the same thing all the time. You can go off and do something that just you are doing.
Sometimes it may appear to be chaotic, but really what's happening is that everyone is doing their piece and going around being a sort of an ant moving their piece to the next place. But if you sit a child down or you just pull them right out of the crowd and say, "Can you tell me what you're doing right now?" You probably will get a pretty thorough answer, and they will be doing something meaningful.
Being a teacher here, she helps us. She pulls us aside sometime. We have like 3 groups. One group, like in math, we have 3 groups, and in spelling, there's 3 groups. And so sometimes during the day, she pulls up those 3 groups and does different things with them. So she just does different things every day.
I think more importantly is the role of the facilitator or the teacher, who has an idea that children can have more responsibility and make choices. And when they are allowed to make choices, they end up doing a more motivated job. They know what a quality piece of work is. I think it can work in the younger crowd, too. My kids are learning what they need to learn in school. I can't say they know everything I want them to know, but they are learning how to learn.
My name's Sarah, and I'm 8 years old, and I've been working on this project about whales since like fall. The reason why I chose whales is that I brainstormed, well, I wanted something in the ocean, and I brainstormed some things in the ocean, and I chose either dolphins or whales, and I decided that I wanted whales more than dolphins. First, I started getting information and writing it down, and then making more and more projects on it until I had like all the projects done. Then I typed a whole bunch of information up on the computer. The program's IBM Linkway. I drew this whale and then pasted it farther and farther on until it was only the fin, and I placed each picture farther and farther on top of each other until it was like this. Here is like some stuff about it. My teacher said I should have correct spelling, capitalization, paragraphs, projects, mobiles, model, illustration, linkway, and poem. It's a mobile, the difference between a whale and a dolphin, and here there's what a shark is. Like, to a baby whale, a shark is an enemy, and salmon is like their favorite, and all the different types of whales, the sperm, the narwhal, the gray, and the orca. Make them with clay. Draw a skeleton of them. Write a poem that says a whale, or it's called a whale, lovable, cute, just like a flute, silly and dilly, a whale with a veil. What a lovable creature, don't you agree with me?
You're almost there. Why don't you sit over here? Okay, find somebody. Shoshana is a student who has severe language disability, and it's affecting her early reading and writing skills as well. So what I was doing here with her today is working on her syntax, her language structure, so that when she speaks, people can understand her better. I also do work with her in early reading and early writing skills. I see Shoshana for a half hour every day. And then I speak with the classroom teacher on a regular basis to try to integrate what I'm doing with her for that half hour into her day, so that it happens more than just during that 1 half hour. By working in the classroom, this enables Shoshana to sometimes use the skills that I'm working with her directly with students. So, for example, we were working on is, verb, ing today, and there have been times when I would turn to a to a classmate and say to Shoshana, what is so-and-so doing? And then she would tell me, he is blah, 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 ing. And that really enables us to try and make that shift from working on the individual skill to generalizing that to her everyday language, which is always the challenge. The way that people access me here at school is through the instructional support teams. We have meetings weekly, and at those meetings we discuss children who are having difficulties in particular areas. And they may be in academic areas, they may be in speech and language areas, or they may be in social emotional areas. So whoever can, however we can meet those children's needs, we all discuss that and then come up with a plan for classroom accommodation.
This is Shoshana. She is in my classroom, and she just walked over to work on her problem solving, which is on the whiteboard that she's looking up at. She's probably going to ask for some help with a couple friends. We'll probably help her with some of the work that's more difficult for her. The spelling and forming of letters isn't that difficult for Shoshana. but sometimes she needs help finding what the next word is. And she needs a little guidance in the addition, and her friends right here, Sam and Chrissy, help her do that.
She definitely is below other 6-year-olds in terms of what you would expect their oral language and their understanding of language to be. But if we look at her growth over the last year, I think we could say it's pretty remarkable. And I think that's due to the fact that she's very integrated in the classroom and that she's receiving appropriate services. The responsibility for the students who have special needs in the classroom is primarily the classroom teacher's responsibility with the consultation and support of guidance and special education.
When I give tours here, the educator tours are a little different from the parent tours. The questions are sometimes a little bit different. The educators, because they have a background in education, 99% of the time are so excited about what they've seen that they're almost speechless at the end. The teacher's reaction is how impressed they are that when they walk through the school that they see that even though students are off doing several different things, that they are all at task, always very involved in their work. And in this type of environment, that probably doesn't seem possible. And that's the parent's reaction to this, that this doesn't sound like it's going to work. It's too noisy. Why aren't they all doing the same thing at the same time? But when they go through and observe, they come out with a whole different impression. I'm often asked to explain why aren't the children learning this, this, and this in first grade and this, this, and this in second grade. Or are they? And when I answer no, they're always, there's always kind of a, what do you mean? No, that's a hard concept to grasp. And I explain it that it's, a continuum of learning. The other thing that happens, and that I find exciting, and that was a brand new concept to me, is that children will learn when they're ready. And then I ask the question back to them, why is it important to you that he learn this in first grade? And there's never really an answer. Then they begin to say, oh, well, I guess that, it makes sense, and that's what I come back to all the time. It makes sense to keep children learning and growing at a reasonable pace, at their own pace.
When describing what we do to other people, I would say something to do with the control that the students have on their own learning and how they set the standards and how I facilitate that organization of standards.
Another important link that it's meaningful, it's hands-on. The kids are actively learning. The kids are making decisions, kids are making choices, and learning happens when all of those things are combined. The outcomes are being able to access information.
Being able to use that information.
Collaboration with others.
Present that information. Teach that information to other people. Take risks in that collaboration. Do something you might not be comfortable with. Take a chance.
Be responsible. You are responsible for your own learning. Be active in it. They're acquiring basic skills and throughout the whole process.
Another key piece to what we're about that ties in with that is that we have been emphasizing authentic learning. We're project-oriented. There is not as much teacher instruction. I'm the teacher, you're the child, I'm up in front of you, and you're here to listen. Although we do some of that. We certainly do some group learning. This year, a big piece, I think, of our success, or what we feel is success this year, is quality work. If we're talking about pond life study, and you're going to come up with a project, what would be some quality pieces, key pieces that you need to have in your project?
We've been working on designing rubrics with the students, and the purpose of the rubric is for the teachers as a team to look at what are the concepts and skills that we're trying to cover with children. The children know what's expected, what it is that we're covering, plus the parents have the feedback of what it is. Often we have the problem of the parents not quite sure of what we're teaching their children, and the rubric identifies the work that we're doing, and it really solidifies the whole piece that we're working on. Technology is a real critical component to our program, and as a team we have 25 PCs Macintosh, laser discs, CD-ROMs, video equipment that our students all have access to. They're all trained to use equipment. There's a lot of peer interaction with technology, students training other students. It's a very positive environment for everybody.
I think this model does work for every kid. Whatever type of classroom you have children with different learning styles. You have to adapt to those learning styles. I adapt to those learning styles in my classroom as anybody else does. I have a little guy who needs rehearsal. When directions are given, he needs to do that verbally. When I leave circle, the first thing I do is go and make sure he rehearses. So I'm adapting my program to him. He gets what he needs.
If we had to describe something that described us, one of the things that we came up with was a kaleidoscope. A kaleidoscope picture is always changing. You want it to change. And each piece of it is very important. You really can't have the whole kaleidoscope picture in place without all the pieces falling in together.
I'm going to be giving you guys a tour through Swift House. My name is Michael. I'm in the 7th grade. And let's get going. This is Mr. Meyer's area. We meet here once in the morning and once in the afternoon for chorea. I'm going to just get myself checked in here. Okay, we check in by ourselves every morning instead of having the teachers to check in for us. Over here we have the hot files, which we use every week. This is weekly core worksheets. These are just our goals for the week we do. The reason they're called hot files is because every week we're using them, and everybody has them, so we're always over here taking some of them for the week. This is the computer area over here. We do mostly a lot of things on the computer. Kids are usually in the morning, we do email, which is a way we communicate to other peers through the school. It's a neat way instead of socializing because we do it all through the computer. During the day, we use Jostens in this area. It's a math program. We do about 50% of all our math on the Jostens Learning Corporation network. Then also we use these computers for word processing during the day. Okay, now we're entering Mr. Howard's area. These are the cubbies, the personal storage areas. They're a lot different from my old school because when I came to school, they were a really new idea. We keep all our stuff in them. I mean, we're usually always on the run, so we just throw things in them. This is Mr. Howard. He's using a system, mathematics, Jostens. I think he's getting reports off the system. Hi. Okay, here is just a laser disc player. We use that a lot for reference. We use all whiteboards here. We don't use any chalkboards. Usually in the morning they always have our schedule on it, which is basically just a rough draft sort of our schedule. Then we go off on our own and we basically make our own schedule. It just tells what's going to be happening during the day in the seminars you go to. Now we're going into the greenhouse area. This area, Mr. Howard loves a lot of plants, and so a lot of kids like to come up here and read. Now over here is Mr. Karen's area. He loves science, so there's a lot of science going on in here. I've done many projects involving science with him. He sort of facilitates us. This is Neil. I think he's using the modem right now, going into different schools and asking different questions. These are movable walls right here. Movable walls we use a lot because, let's say, when we're doing projects like Swiftville or the UNIS program, and when we start projects and stuff, they get flip-flopped around a lot, so we like to just move the walls a lot. Sometimes we expand the choreo, sometimes we shrink them. We use them for a lot of things. Oh, these are the quality indicators. This is how we rate our work. These are for concept maps and discussion, different things we rate ourselves on with these quality indicators. Now we're in this Longchamps area. There's a lot in this area. This is the bookshelf, reports on planets, telephones. We have one in every core group. They're for getting outside research. These are the weekly folders we use, and it goes home once a week to our parents, so they never fall behind in knowing what we are doing. Since it is a multi-grade 5 through 8,
we do have to have a different range of books and different range of materials. Like people are reading like something like Huck Finn, and like an 8th grader, some people might be reading something with a more of a picture book, since the grades range. Okay, now we're going to go into the Kiva. Kiva is an Indian word for meeting place. We meet here twice a day to show different projects and different things we learn. Like say like 5 kids go on a field trip. They won't just keep the information to themselves. They'll tell it to everybody else, and they'll do big projects in a Kiva. Okay, I guess we're going to do the project room now. We don't have to worry about making a mess in this room if we want to do projects. Okay, now I guess we're going to go into the teacher's room. There's desks for all the teachers. Each person has a desk. This is Mr. Myers, this is Ms. Longchamp, this is Mr. Howard, and so forth. This is Spooky's desk. She's basically our aide. She's our communications person. She's the one basically to pull everything together. We fax a lot to different schools where we communicate with the outside world a lot. We represent ourselves a lot. Oh, hi, John. There's a lot of kids coming in. Now, I guess it's time for you guys to leave. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I did also, so thank you.
All right, Marcel, you've been here a couple of weeks now. Moved up from Texas, so we thought after having an opportunity to meet with your parents to talk about the goals that they have for you and some things that you'd like to work on in general, what we want to do today is spend a little bit of time putting together a personal plan for you.
Okay.
Okay?
What we do in Swift House is we make a plan. We take a student that's been brought into our environment. He's in 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, and we sit down as a team with a student, a parent, and a facilitator to plan for the weaknesses and strengths that they've exhibited in the past and how we're going to move them on a path to make their learning stronger, to make them lifelong learners.
And there are 4 areas that we talked about earlier: collaboration and social responsibility, independent functioning, how well you work on your own in class, creative and critical thinking, your math and problem solving and that kind of thing, and then your communication, which is your reading, writing, listening, speaking. So what we'll do is kind of thumb through the curriculum, and using the feedback your mom and dad gave us at the other meeting, we'll kind of gear up so we can meet their needs and meet your needs in terms of picking these out.
We can easily write a plan where we have to try to document 50, 60 different learning behaviors or outcomes, but that comes a management nightmare. So we try to keep maybe between 10 and 15 learning behaviors that we zero in on.
There's an objective here that says, I will demonstrate the ability to assess my current knowledge and skills.
Oh, you mean like
you know now,
where I would do a paper or do a drawing or something, and then I would evaluate it myself?
How about presenting information orally to a group? Have you done a lot of that?
Like standing up in front of a class?
Yeah, do a presentation like we do in the Kiva when the kid gets up there and does a project.
Oh yeah, I can do that. I'm not very shy.
So our next piece is going to be to take this information that we've worked out, these numbers, and I'll put them into the computer, and they'll generate a complete list of the objectives, okay? And then you can take those home to your parents, probably Monday afternoon.
I think there's a misconception that this is open and that there is no structure here. But in fact, there is a very tight structure, but the structure fits around the student. And so each student has their own structure and follows that plan for the day.
They have a mission. It may not be to get from one teacher-directed area to another teacher-directed area. That's the concept of a hallway. It's from one job to another, and that's directed by what they've figured out.
Could you guys tell me, like, what works in this classroom and what doesn't? Like, some of the advantages and disadvantages are?
Well, the advantage is, like, that there's, like, freedom in the classroom. You're not, like, cooped up in a classroom for, like, 6 hours all day. At my old school, everything was so traditional, and, I mean, all the teachers, there's, like, a chalkboard and, like, a pointer and stuff like that. It was so boring. Every day was the same.
The first year that I was here, I was in 4th grade, and my school in California it was like Emily's, it was so traditional, and it was just hard for me to adjust to being in a non-structured area, and like, I have to admit, I never got my work done, and now that I've been in this school for 3 years, it's been like The teachers have helped me get through like some hard times when I just didn't want to do my work because I didn't know where to start.
Holly, advantages and disadvantages of this kind of...
Okay, well, some people, they, instead of doing their work during their open time that they can plan, they fool around and don't get their work done and play on the computer. And that shows off in their portfolio. Like, if you want to show it to someone, they have nothing to show because they've been fooling around instead of, like, doing their work and stuff. So I think that's a disadvantage.
Yeah, I can relate to that, too, because my first year here, 6th grade, which was the first year this classroom started, I was just totally out of it. But 7th grade, the next year, I decided to do my work, you know, just, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to fall behind. In 6th grade, what I learned, too, from this, that you have the freedom to make your own choices and you can control your own life.
I think that a child can fail in this model if they don't have time management skills, if they don't have any sense of follow-through, or if they don't have guides, facilitators, teachers, aides that help remind them and help them develop those skills. Just because a child doesn't have them doesn't mean they can't develop them.
Do you think that overall that this would work better than traditional classrooms?
We learn how to do adult things instead of waiting for college and stuff. So, I mean, it really, I mean, when you're, it's like you're in the real world.
With the more traditional classes, they don't have as much responsibility because the teachers just shove a textbook in their face and say, you know, do this many pages. Once you get to high school, you need to know a lot, know about and be more responsible.
Do you have some feelings about being with people that are sometimes 4 years older than you are in the same classroom?
At first, I really hated it because I was always the youngest person. I just felt like such a baby because, like, at the school dances, everybody seemed to be going except for me. And then once I got up to 6th grade, I felt a lot more, I guess, like, happy with myself because I knew that, like, I could help teach other people, but, yeah, I could have other people teach me that were older than me. Sometimes I have trouble, like, focusing in on what a teacher says.
I think if you look at the two models, if you look at the model where all the pre-adolescent boys are together, same age, you're going to see a lot of acting out, and you're going to see the what I would call testosterone poisoning. I think what happens when you incorporate 4 age levels, you have that testosterone, it's diluted, okay? And so if you have a 10-year-old with a 14-year-old, it's more like a family situation.
This long-term relationship that you have when you know a child for 4 years, they're not this big frightening person that comes in as an 8th grader. You know their parents well. That long-term relationship just pays big dividends in terms of involvement with the kids.
Sam, do you feel prepared and ready to go into high school and then start your own life? Like, prepared from this classroom?
If I had maybe one concern about high school, that would be the amount of homework I'd be getting, because I know you get a lot there, but this type of classroom would make it easier because of it's teaching me how to budget my time and things like that.
We're often asked the question, are there things that our children have to know before they enter high school? The fact that they can all be their own advocates. They've been asked constantly, time and time again, why do you do this? What were the steps you needed to do? Did you have a plan? Did you look at the quality indicators before you started? When you were done with the job, did you know it was a good job? And I think knowing that that's the power.
It sounds a little bit flip to say it, but we aren't really concerned with preparing kids to go through a traditional high school. We're concerned with preparing kids with lifelong learning skills. And if they can use them to learn Melville in their English class, then so much the better. Libbey is a child who in many ways would have been probably overlooked, except the parents have a sensitivity to her ability to understand what she's reading and incorporate new vocabulary and that kind of thing. She's always been a very introspective, interpersonally intelligent student, but now it's even more so because she's got stuff that she's really proud of right now that she can hold up and say, this is my best work. This is how I can see my growth, like in the spelling, which was always a hassle for her before. She can now say, I can see where I'm applying the rules I'm learning, and here's where it's happening. So we're having some real intelligent discussions around that when we have our conferences together.
One thing I've done with some of my students that have had that difficulty choosing a wider range of literature is they plan their month out in advance, and they might have one historical fiction book, one science fiction book. It's just like all the other books that they've read, so they're still meeting that need. And, and that's worked really right. That's worked well.
The Swift House model illuminated the problem because in the Swift House model, each child has her or his own goals. And each child is measured against herself or himself. And that is so much different than the traditional classroom. Even in the traditional classroom that I taught in, we didn't have grades, yet I still compared kids. It was a natural issue because all the kids were doing the same work at the same time. When the kids are doing different work at different times and are doing their own pace, I think it can become more clear when there is some sort of a learning problem or a deficit.
Next Friday. I was so frustrated my first year when I couldn't understand things at the exact moment. I had to think about it a lot. And with all my practice, you know, being here and everything, I understand it more, and I communicate to the teachers that I don't understand that, and they can help me. So I'm happier with that. I was frustrated, but I'm happier now.
This is a wrap-up discussion for the immigration article that everybody had a chance to read, and it's been a while.
In the current periodicals group, I was taking it as a challenge to learn more about the news and the world, and to learn, you know, bigger vocabulary words, because it's very challenging.
And one of the periodicals was the Atlantic Monthly, where they had to read a pretty advanced and explicit discussion of anarchy around the Third World. And when my daughter brought the piece home, I thought, they've surely gone crazy here.
In fact, Libbey rated herself lower than the Facilitator would have rated her, so they had a discussion about that issue. And the important thing is the discussion. The important thing is the process of self-evaluation.
Each month we evaluate ourselves. Like we have the 4 areas of excellence. We have the Novice, Apprentice, Practitioner, and Scholar. And each month there's a space for you to evaluate how you think you've grown on that area.
Who would like to do the second half for us? How about Gwen?
The students came up with 4 levels of excellence. The teachers asked us to come up with 4 names and 4 meanings for those levels of excellence. And so we started out with Novice. You had a topic and you knew what it meant. Or maybe you didn't even know that, but at least you knew it existed. And then Apprentice, you knew what it meant, and you were, you know, starting to, well, I'm kind of interested in that. And then Practitioner is that you're using it and you know how to do it and you like using that. And Scholar is that you know it enough that you can teach it to other people. And so each month we evaluate where in our personal plan we are on each of our goals and objectives. We'll say, you know, last time I was a novice on this, and now, you know, I feel like I've risen up to an apprentice.
So, folks, we're going to have our last conference, Parent Conference of the Year. This is a wrap-up conference. So what we normally do here is to give you an opportunity to put out any agenda items that you'd like to make sure we cover in the conference. So why don't you go ahead and fire away, and I'll just take some notes here. Anything that you want to make sure we cover today?
Well, I wanted to make some comments about the changes we made at the last portfolio conference. My kind of assessment of those. And I haven't seen some Jostens pages for the last couple of Thursday folders, and I want to check on those.
I'd also like to go over my personal plan and show Mom the new evaluations.
I would like to see you bring home a piece that you're working on and what you determined are the quality indicators, and be able to point to this quality indicator and show me where it is in the piece as you're doing it, not when it's all done and you've got them all in there.
Recently, I just evaluated them, and I have a few points that are really good. Objective, I will pursue open-ended problems and extended problem-solving projects. I still rate myself an apprentice because I don't feel like I've really done extended problem-solving projects.
What would that look like? What would an extended problem-solving project look like?
Taking a project and taking a problem and making it into a big project, or taking a project and really focusing totally on math. And I've done a lot of that, but on the short-term math problem-solving, I think that I've been doing pretty good on that.
I'd like to see you make more use of all the technology that's available in the room.
Yeah, I know, because in one of my last portfolio conference evaluations, under I need to improve on using other pieces of technology, and I said I'd like to do more projects involving technology I haven't used. I know that I'm kind of getting a little bored with Linkway because I have like thousands of projects on there which I'd like to put on a designated disk and start using other
things to work with. Yeah, sounds good. Maybe video would be a good one. What we've just done is a conference, a parent conference that is held on a quarterly basis throughout the year. We really want to treat parents as direct customers of the system and inputters to the system as a complete management team for the child, with the child as the center focus of that whole process. And what we've transformed it to over the last 3 years is student runs the conference. The parent is there as a receptor and a giver of information to the teacher, and the teacher's there as a support for both of them to process the information through the conference. I believe that some parents have had difficulty with the transformation. How do I relate to this system that doesn't send me home graded report cards, that sends me home this huge book that I've got to paw through with my student? So it's been a parent education.
Well, the now at the end of the day has come. You can see everybody in the kiva with their jackets on, ready to go for the bus. Well, I got to get going. I hope you guys had a good time. See ya.
What's been toughest for the teachers regarding the changes that we're making is probably shifting from the teaching of a curriculum to the teaching of each and every individual child separately and uniquely, and trying to rethink the way they do things, and most importantly the way they track and evaluate and set up challenges for kids and arrange their learning environment. I don't think there's any doubt that that's the greatest challenge, and it is at the very core of the change.
Our district has a motto which I think is really appropriate, and the motto is, learning is the constant and time is the variable. And I think that sums up the way that we try to work with our students.
There's a major difference between complaining about what a child is not learning and actively participating in helping that child learn something. It can be scary and unsettling, and it certainly takes time. It takes personal investment, it takes commitment, it takes a willingness to confront.
I think the underpinnings of it are you have to respect kids and respect their ability to make decisions for themselves and see yourself in a role change. That's really the crux of it.
I do a report and I know that it's like it might come in handy someday, and just that I know that, it makes me feel good.
You'll definitely be interested in our next video, which, as you can see, we're just wrapping up. It's called The Power of Two, Making a Difference Through Co-Teaching. In it, you'll learn about a 5-part framework for creating and sustaining co-teaching programs. It includes 6 approaches to co-teaching, including such things as parallel teaching, alternative teaching, and station teaching. You'll also hear teachers talk about some of the many issues they face as they work in a co-taught situation. We hope you'll find the tape helpful, and thank you for your commitment to creating positive schools for the students today.